Greetings from another beautiful Monday here on the SMA campus. I'm sending a special message just to our 8th grade parents. I hope you had a lovely weekend, and with the upcoming parent-teacher conferences, maybe you and your child will get a little bit of a break later at the end of the week. I'm sending a special message just to our 8th grade families today because I want to talk a little bit about a meeting I had with all of the 8th graders earlier this morning. So this morning I had a chance to meet with all of our 8th grade students to do what we called our 8th grade reset. And what we mean by that is every year, right around this time, come March, we're getting close to the end of the year, we're getting close to the DC trip. We find it really important to reinforce the rules that we have set in place here on campus, because we start to see 8th graders, almost like seniors in some ways, start to slide on some of those expectations. And they impact behavior, they impact the culture in the school, they impact performance in the classroom, and really, especially with DC around the corner, they really make us nervous and worried about whether our students will really rise to the challenge of what's ahead for the DC trip. So I'm sending you this message to just reinforce what we said with the students and ask for your help and partnership. So I want to say a couple of the different areas that we talked about this morning. So first and foremost, throughout the whole year, and actually more than this year, we've continued to reinforce to our students, please wear your ID badge around your neck every single day. Now you would maybe be surprised to see how difficult that has been to get students, especially as they get older, our 8th graders, to wear their ID badge. Of course, they need it to get into the building, they need it for safety, like this is how we identify our students, but also, what really fits well with this is if you can't wear your ID every day, if you can't keep track of that, can you keep track of your hotel card in Washington, D.C.? I mean, there's a pretty strong correlation between the two. And so we reinforced to the students this morning, every single day, you should have an ID, you should have it around your neck, you should be wearing it prominently. And again, that's always been a challenge. It shouldn't be in your pocket. And so as parents, if you can help us make sure your kid has their ID every single day, or if it's broken or they've lost it, come see us. We'll make sure to get them a sleeve they can put it in if it's broken. They can get a new ID if they've lost it, and we'll make sure that they have one. But please help us with that. Secondly is tardies. Interestingly, this is the first year these 8th graders have ever had a passing period, right? This year we introduced 5-minute passing periods to give kids a chance to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, get their next book they need for their class, say hi to a friend. They've never had that. That was pretty normal for me as a middle schooler, and maybe it was for you, but our kids, because we didn't have passing periods before this year, haven't had a lot of experience with that. Unfortunately, we're continuing to see some kids come in tardy. They don't time that, go to the bathroom, speak with their friend, get that book well, and we're just, it's not September or October anymore. We're really reinforcing with kids, you're expected to come to every class on time, just like I'm sure you were as a parent. When you were a student. And so if you can just continue to reinforce that, we are keeping track of those tardies, and if your child's not coming on time, we'll let them know. But the one thing that they're often not in control of that we need your help with is getting here on time in the morning. Now, the vast majority of our families get their child here before 8 a.m. And thank you so much for doing that. Now, I know there's a lot of different things from how far people are coming and traffic and whether you have to drop a child off at another school, but I think we all know everybody's held to that expectation of you need to be at a certain place on time. And that is true here at St. Mary's Academy as well. I shared a story of, one time I had a friend who dropped me off at the airport late and I missed my flight. And although it was kind of my friend's fault, I was still had the consequence for that I missed my flight. And so although, you might be driving your child, if we're not getting here on time on a regular basis, that's where we're going to have to talk to you about it, notify you. And there might even be, something that we have to do to reinforce here at school. So please help us just by making sure, even if you have to leave 5 or 10 minutes early, get your child here on time. Help us with that. That would be very helpful. We also talked about phones and leaving your phone in your backpack, in your locker, away all day. It shouldn't be out. And if you can reinforce that would be helpful. That's true at the drop-off and pickup line. We also talked about bringing your iPads fully charged and making sure you have that with you. A lot of our kids don't forget to bring their phone with them, but they might forget to bring their iPad. And so if you can help us just reinforcing that, that would be really helpful. So the last thing I want to share with you all about these reinforcing these expectations is, again, we do this every year. We really want to reinforce that our kids follow these expectations so that they can make you proud and make our school proud while in Washington, D.C. Now, I'll be honest with you, I might have used a little bit of my dad voice in that conversation, right? And so what I mean by that is it's not always the warmest thing to reinforce all these expectations over and over again. But at the same time, I think we all know at this time of year, especially with a big trip coming up, it's important to make sure that kids understand what's expected of them and help them rise to the challenge. And so that's what we did this morning with that. So if you can help us with that, that would be so great. So many of our students are doing exactly what we want them to do in most of the areas. But there's always, we were just talking about this morning, there's the kid who does everything we want them to do but never brings their ID, or the kid who's always late to school but does great in all these other areas. It's the rare kid who's missing these expectations in every single area. I will say this, and I'll leave you with this. I told the kids, I said, if you don't wear your ID every single day to school for the next 8 days, should you get to go to DC? And a couple kids said, yeah, of course. And I said, well, I'm not sure, right? Maybe you shouldn't. Again, if you're not actually taking care of this, which is kind of like your hotel key, I'm not sure whether we should be able to trust you out of state on such a big trip. Now, between you and me, right, mom and dad, parent, guardian, it would be really crazy to think that a kid wouldn't get to go on the DC trip. But of course, if someone can't follow any of these expectations, is disrespectful and rude, unkind, won't listen to the teachers, I'm sure you'd agree with me. I'm not sure that's somebody who we'd want to take on a trip. Now, there's no one like that in our community, so I'm sure everybody will end up on the trip. But I did have to reinforce with our students this morning, I really need you to help us out by taking care of these expectations, showing us that you can do this, because ultimately, at the end of the day, there are consequences if we're really not doing that. But between you and me, I'm sure that won't be a problem, and that all the kids will follow these expectations. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to convey onto you what we shared with the kids today, and also just really need your partnership and help on this, because we do really want to end strong this year with our students. We're only 3 months away, if you can believe it. It's kind of hard to believe. And I know that together, partnering together, we're all going to help these students achieve, great things. So thank you so much, and have a great week.